Let's speak to Sigurd Neubauer in Washington, D.C. He's a Middle East analyst. Thank you so much for being with us. So what do you make of these reports that Amazon's expansion plans in Saudi Arabia are on hold? What impact do you see this having on U.S.-Saudi business ties?
The Saudi decision to put all operations with Amazon on hold was inevitable, precisely because the standoff between the president of the company, Jeff Bezos, and Crown Prince Mohammed of Saudi Arabia has become so personalized, because we know that Jeff Bezos is also the owner of the Washington Post, where Jamal Khashoggi, who was, as we know, murdered by the Saudi government, where he was a columnist. So the Saudi government has not been happy with how the Washington Post continues to cover that story, and it was therefore inevitable that there would be political repercussions for Amazon, and this is the first step that we're seeing.
Yeah, some Saudis have even been calling for a boycott of Amazon over this. Do you expect other American businesses to be affected by this feud?
Potentially. I mean, we could easily foresee two scenarios. Under the first scenario, several American businesses may voluntarily decide not to invest in the Saudi market and be part of the so-called Saudi 2030 vision, in which Prince Mohammed has sought to privatize the economy away from energy, precisely because of the U.S. domestic concerns over human rights abuses in the kingdom and how it is handling the fallout over the Khashoggi murder. So that's the first scenario. The second scenario is, or potential scenario is, that we could see Saudi government banning other companies from entering into the Saudi market, potentially over not being supportive enough of the kingdom and of the prince in particular.
But President Trump, as you know, continues to tout Saudi Arabia as very good for American business. Will that make a difference, or is the fact that, you know, Saudi Arabia, the U.S. Congress is likely going to be imposing sanctions on Saudi Arabia soon over the war in Yemen and the Khashoggi affair, is that likely to have an impact on the overall relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia?
Potentially, but also for the region, because as we know, Amazon has a second center for its cloud computing services in Bahrain. And the question is this: will Saudi Arabia's stance with Amazon, will that impact how it is operating in Bahrain? We don't quite know how that will play out, but precisely because the divisions in the United States are so sharp and so bitter, including what you mentioned when it comes to Saudi Arabia, that for U.S. businesses to enter into that market and potentially find itself in the crosshair of these divisions could be lethal to U.S. businesses and their reputation. So this is a very unpredictable and fragile environment.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Sigurd Neubauer joining us there from Washington, D.C. Thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
In France.